It's funny how you can't really forget your first day of junior year. Everyone has that image of the new teacher who stands in front of the classroom, either impressing you or making you question your entire future. But for me, it was more like a moment of complete, unfiltered panic. The bell rang. I was already sitting in the back of the classroom, half dreading the rest of the school year. I mean, junior year is always that big transition, bigger workload, more pressure, and of course, the looming specter of college applications. But that first day, I was just trying to survive the day without doing something that would make me a meme by the end of the week. That's when he walked in. The door creaked open and in stepped this guy. Honestly, I didn't know what to make of him at first. He had that vibe, like someone who had been teaching too long and had forgotten what normal looked like. He was this old guy, wrinkled like an old leather couch, with a thick mustache that looked like it hadn't been groomed in a decade. To make matters worse, his shirt was only tucked in on one side, like he'd given up on putting any real effort into his appearance. It wasn't the "I'm too cool for this" look, it was more like the "I've given up and am now just here to survive" look. And the way he moved? It was almost like he was pacing, but in that jerky, unsure way that made you wonder if he was okay. His eyes were wide, almost too wide, like he was seeing everything and nothing at once. And I swear, the second he stepped in, the whole room went quiet. It wasn't the silence of respect either, it was the kind of silence you get when a group of people is uncomfortable and just waiting for someone to break the tension. I glanced around, but no one else was making a sound. People were exchanging nervous glances, shifting in their seats, clearly feeling the weird energy too. Was this guy for real? He began taking attendance without even looking up. His voice was flat, like he was reading from a script he'd memorized years ago. He'd call out a name, check a mark, then go to the next one. It was all so mechanical, and there was something oddly unsettling about it. It felt like he was just going through the motions, but at the same time, it felt like there was something behind his eyes, like he was watching us, picking us apart in some strange way. Then, the worst part happened. He got to my name. Mr. 102194. And just like that, he stopped. It wasn't like a pause because he didn't know how to pronounce it or anything. No, this was different. He looked up. I don't know what was worse, the way his eyes snapped directly to me, or the fact that it felt like he was staring straight into my soul. His gaze didn't waver, it didn't flicker. It just locked onto me. "Ah," he said slowly, "Mr. 102194. Glad you're here." I froze. Then, before I could even blink, he continued. "How's your family? Is your little sister still playing the piano? Is that model ship still on your dresser? Is your room still blue?" A wave of cold washed over me. My stomach dropped, and the blood drained from my face. He just described my life. My actual life. Every single thing he said? He had no way of knowing that. I don't talk about my room. I don't talk about my sister's piano lessons. Hell, I don't even talk about the model ship on my dresser with my friends, no one would care. But this guy, this strange, unsettling teacher, had just listed those details as if he had been watching me for years. My mind went blank. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even think clearly. I could feel everyone in the class staring at me now, their eyes shifting between me and the teacher like they were waiting for something, some kind of explanation, some sign that I wasn't about to have a panic attack in front of the entire class. He smiled, this weird, creepy grin that seemed like he knew something I didn't. "Ah, of course it is," he said, like he'd just remembered something. "It's only been, what, a week?" And with that, he went right back to taking attendance like nothing happened. But my heart? It was still racing. I couldn't even process what had just happened. Was he some kind of stalker? Or worse, was he a total weirdo who was just messing with me? Either way, I was terrified. The rest of the class was just as uncomfortable. You could feel the tension hanging in the air like a thick fog. That day, I couldn't focus on anything. I kept replaying what he'd said, the things he knew, trying to figure out how he could possibly have learned all of that. It made no sense. The next day, though, things started to clear up. I found out that the weird, creepy teacher wasn't actually a stalker, he was my uncle's best friend. Apparently, my dad, my uncle, and some of their old buddies had been planning this prank for months. It turns out, the teacher wasn't really as creepy as he'd appeared. He'd purposely grown out that awful mustache, the one that looked like it belonged to some outdated 70s villain, just to amp up the weird factor for me. He'd dressed in an intentionally disheveled way to make me second-guess everything, and those odd eye twitches? Apparently part of the act too. But what really got me was when I found out the details of how they'd set it up. My uncle had slipped my family information to the teacher. They'd used it to pull off this elaborate prank. The room I slept in? The little details about my life? They'd been fed to him piece by piece. And I, being the gullible high schooler that I was, hadn't had a single clue that it was all set up. Once I learned the truth, things got a little easier. The teacher cleaned up his act, shaved off the mustache, thank God, started dressing better, and even managed to relax a little. The twitch in his eye disappeared, and he became just another odd, slightly eccentric teacher in a sea of similarly strange educators. But still, the memory of that first day never left me. It was like one of those moments where you can't quite shake the feeling of being watched. And despite everything, I'll give credit where it's due. It was a good prank. A really good one. Even if it made me question my sanity for a couple of days. At least after that first day, I could laugh about it. Mostly,